At exactly 0417, 312 miles off the Venezuelan coast, a 53-year-old German submarine made the quietest sound in the ocean. A hydraulic whisper. Torpedo tube doors opening. Inside the Sabalo, 64 Venezuelan sailors believed they were about to change history. They had no idea history had already been written 6 days ago by analysts in Norfolk who knew this moment was coming before the submarine even left port. The target sitting on the horizon looked like a floating city, the USS Gerald R. 100,000 tons of American power projection, 75 aircraft, a crew of 4,500, a price tag of $13 billion. To the Venezuelan captain, it looked like the ultimate political statement. To the 3 Virginia-class submarines trailing him at 2,000 yards, it looked like a math problem with only one solution. Here's what makes this situation fascinating. Venezuela's submarine force didn't collapse overnight. It rotted slowly, like fruit left in the sun. 4 German-built Type 209 submarines purchased in 1976, back when Venezuelan oil money could buy anything. Genuine blue water ambitions, a navy that commanded respect throughout the Caribbean. Today, 3 of those boats sit in La Guaira Naval Base, cannibalized, stripped for parts, metal skeletons picked clean by a service that can't afford spare bolts. The Caribe hasn't moved since 2014. The Kite lost its propeller shaft in 2017. The Tarantula is missing its entire combat information center. Sailors joke that between all 4 submarines, Venezuela has enough working parts for maybe 1.5 boats. The Sabalo is a survivor, barely. Its diesel engines haven't been properly overhauled in 9 years. Its sonar suite uses vacuum tubes that were obsolete when Ronald Reagan was president. The fire control computer runs on software that predates the iPhone. Venezuelan naval officers haven't conducted a live torpedo exercise in over a decade. Not because they don't want to, because they can't afford to recover the practice weapons afterward. But here's the thing about desperate men and dying machines. They don't calculate odds the way rational planners do. A regime facing international isolation sees opportunity where professionals see suicide. Desperation follows its own terrible logic. The Caribbean Sea isn't just water. It's the most surveilled body of ocean on the planet outside the Taiwan Strait. Every square mile between Venezuela and Florida is wired with SOSUS, the sound surveillance system. Underwater microphones planted during the Cold War to track Soviet submarines approaching the American coastline. These passive listening arrays have been upgraded continuously for 5 decades. They detect everything: whale migrations, shrimp colonies clicking their claws, the thermocline layers where warm and cold water meet, and definitely a Type 209 submarine running on diesel engines designed before the internet existed. When the Sabalo departed La Guaira 4 days ago, 17 different sensor arrays logged its acoustic signature before it traveled 50 miles. American intelligence knew the crew roster, the fuel load, the captain's name, his wife's name, his children's school schedule. They knew the submarine's maximum underwater endurance down to the hour. They knew which valves leaked, which systems ran hot, which crewmen had been sick during the previous patrol. The Venezuelans believed they were ghosts slipping through dark water. They were performers on a stage where every seat was filled by American analysts taking notes. 0418, the torpedo tube flooding sequence began. Seawater rushed into the forward compartment, a pressure differential that created a distinct hydraulic signature. The sound propagated outward at 1,500 meters per second, 4 times faster than sound through air. To Venezuelan ears, it sounded like preparation. To American sonar operators aboard the USS Mississippi, it sounded like a starting gun. The detection happened in under 5 seconds. The Mississippi's BQQ-10 sonar suite classified the acoustic transient in 15. A Virginia-class attack submarine running silent at 400 feet, its own noise signature so minimal that whales have been recorded bumping into them. Weapon assignment took 30 seconds. Fire control solutions calculated for 2 Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes. Permission to engage transmitted from Fleet Command. Safeties removed. The American crew waiting for exactly one thing: the order to fire. By the time the Venezuelan captain's finger approached the firing trigger, the Mississippi had locked his engine room from 2,000 yards. Close enough to hear his pumps cycling. Close enough to count his propeller revolutions. Close enough that the Mark 48's travel time would be measured in seconds rather than minutes. The Venezuelan weapon of choice told its own story. The SUT heavyweight torpedo, revolutionary in 1971. Wire-guided, 23 knots maximum speed, a 260-kilogram warhead designed to crack Soviet cruiser hulls. Germany's answer to underwater warfare, frozen in amber for half a century. 53 years later, it's a museum piece being operated by sailors who've never seen it work outside of training films. The guidance wire connecting torpedo to submarine is copper, prone to snapping if the boat maneuvers aggressively, prone to failing if the torpedo encounters thermal layers it wasn't designed to navigate. The weapon's terminal seeker uses active sonar technology from the Nixon administration. It can distinguish between a warship and empty ocean. But distinguishing between a carrier hull and the complex thermal environment of the Caribbean thermocline requires processing power it simply doesn't have. American Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes travel at 55 knots. They use fiber optic guidance that doesn't snap. They can operate independently with artificial intelligence-assisted target tracking. They navigate thermal layers like water slides. The technological gap isn't measured in years. It's measured in generations. But here's what matters. A 260-kilogram warhead detonating under a carrier's keel doesn't care about manufacturing dates. Obsolete doesn't mean harmless. It means the men firing it won't survive long enough to see the impact. The USS Gerald R doesn't travel alone. Its protection doesn't start at the visible horizon. It extends 500 miles in every direction, enforced by assets most people never see. Virginia-class submarines patrol ahead of the carrier. Acoustic tripwires that detect any submerged contact within 200 miles. P-8 Poseidon aircraft fly patterns overhead, dropping sonobuoys and grids covering thousands of square miles. Each buoy transmitting real-time acoustic data back to Fleet Command. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers circle to formation, their SQS-53 hull-mounted sonar actively pinging. Their SQR-19 towed arrays streaming behind like electronic fishing lines. Capable of detecting a snorkeling submarine at 40 miles. Capable of hearing a torpedo launch before the fish clears the tube. The P-8 Poseidon, flying lazy circles at 30,000 feet, serves as the network's brain. Its AN/APY-10 radar paints every surface contact within 150 miles. Its sonobuoy receivers process acoustic data from dozens of underwater sensors simultaneously. Operators sitting in air-conditioned comfort watch the Sabalo's every movement on high-resolution displays. They note course changes before the submarine's own navigator logs them. This is layered defense in its purest form. Concentric rings of detection, each one redundant, each one feeding data to the next. The Venezuelan submarine would have to evade every single layer to reach weapons range. The odds of that happening with 1970s technology against 2020 surveillance are roughly equivalent to sneaking through an airport using an invisibility cloak made of aluminum foil. The Venezuelan captain looked through his periscope and saw one target, the Ford. What he couldn't see told the real story. 3 American submarines, 2 destroyers, 4 aircraft, 19 sonobuoys, all watching, all waiting, all armed. The mathematics of modern naval warfare aren't complicated. You can't kill what you can't reach. You can't reach what's watching you from 6 angles simultaneously. 0422, the moment arrived. The Venezuelan captain gave the order. Fuego! The SUT Torpedo launched from Tube 1, copper wire spooling behind it like a leash on a racing dog. 23 knots toward a target 18 miles away. The American response was immediate and underwhelming. No torpedoes fired, no depth charges dropped, no explosions ripping through dark water. Instead, the USS Mississippi did something far more devastating. It activated its active sonar at close range. One ping, loud enough to rattle fillings, loud enough to echo through every compartment of the Sabalo, loud enough that every man aboard instantly understood they were dead if America wanted them dead. That single ping transmitted more information than any diplomatic communique. We see you. We've been tracking you for 6 days. We have weapons locked on your engine room. You're alive because we choose to let you live. The Venezuelan captain understood instantly. His torpedo was still running, 18 minutes to potential impact, but his submarine had just been painted by a hunter he never detected. Somewhere behind him in the darkness, American torpedoes were aimed at his hull. He had 2 choices: continue the attack and die within 90 seconds, or abort and surface. The wire was cut. The SUT Torpedo, suddenly blind, began his terminal search pattern, circling, seeking, finding nothing. Its outdated seeker couldn't distinguish the Ford's massive hull from the Caribbean's complex thermal layers. After 11 minutes, it exhausted its fuel and sank. A $1.2 million museum piece settling toward the seafloor to join the shrimp colonies and whale bones. 0438. The Sabalo surfaced. 64 Venezuelan sailors climbed onto a rusted deck and stared at an empty horizon. No American ships visible. No aircraft overhead. Just blue water stretching to every horizon. And the humiliation of knowing they've been watched the entire time. The cost analysis wrote itself. Venezuela expended 1 SUT torpedo. Retail value, $1.2 million. Operational deployment cost, including fuel and crew, roughly $3.4 million. Political cost, immeasurable. The world's press would never report this incident, but every naval intelligence service on the planet would analyze it. America expended 1 sonar ping, approximate cost in electricity about 47 cents. The Virginia-class submarine that ended the engagement never fired a weapon, never revealed its exact position, never risked a single sailor, never even accelerated beyond patrol speed. This is the mathematics that keeps defense analysts employed. A submarine costing $2 billion to build and $60 million annually to operate neutralized a 60-year-old threat with a sound wave. But the real calculation isn't financial, it's strategic. Sinking the Sabalo would have created an international incident, 64 casualties requiring explanation, diplomatic complication with every nation that sells weapons to.
Venezuela, congressional hearings lasting months. Most importantly, it would have given Caracas exactly what a failing regime craves: martyrs, international attention, a grievance to exploit for decades. Letting them surface peacefully accomplished everything without the mess. The Venezuelan Navy was humiliated, their operational capabilities exposed, their submarine force proven irrelevant against modern detection systems, and every other potential adversary received the same message carved in sonar pulses. We see you before you see us. We track you before you deploy. We'll give you one chance to make the smart choice. After that, the math changes permanently. The Ford Carrier Strike Group continued its patrol, unchanged, unbothered. The Sabalo limped back to La Guaira,
its captain facing career-ending debriefings, its crew knowing they'd been outclassed by an enemy they never saw. In Caracas, generals stared at intelligence reports and confronted an uncomfortable truth. There,
The entire naval doctrine was built on assumptions that died 30 years ago. Their submarines weren't invisible. Their torpedoes weren't unstoppable. Their geography wasn't protection. The Caribbean belonged to whoever controlled the information, and the information belonged to America. This is how modern deterrence works when nobody's watching. Not with explosions, not with body counts, with a single ping that says everything words cannot. We know where you are. We know what you're planning. We'll let you go home this time. Don't make us reconsider. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that subscribe button and share this video. The stories that never make headlines are the ones that matter most.